I was like, I'm afraid to be blessed. And I never thought I would say those things because who's afraid of blessings, right? But as I was talking to God this week and I was meditating on my past, I was like, honestly, I have this fear because of my past trauma. In the past, anytime I built something, anytime I thought this was my moment, this was my big break, I lost it all. I ended up with my heart completely broken. And I realized back then I was dealing with a lot of generational curses. I was in a lot of demonic ties and soul contracts. And so all of these things were hindering me. I was like, yeah, I'm scared to be blessed again because I don't want to, have it all just to lose it all again, to have it stolen, to have my heart broken. And then God was like, the first time you did it, you did things your way. My hand was against you. You were in a lot of bondage. You were in a lot of demonic contracts and agreements with your adversary, the devil. And so he had a right to curse you. He had a right to take things away from you. But I am bringing you out this time. And he says, when I bring you out, I will declare you blessed. And then I heard these words so clear in my spirit, and he said to say it to many of you as well. Who God blesses in this season, no man can curse. Then he took me to Numbers chapter 22, when King Balak of Moab hired Balaam to pronounce a ritual curse on the Israelites to defeat them. But God intervened. Balak sent messengers to Balaam with a diviner's fee, promising him great wealth and honor if he would put a curse on the Israelites and cause them to fail. Balaam was known for being in communication with the God of Israel. His reputation was whoever you bless stays blessed, and whoever you curse stays cursed. Now, God had already promised the Israelites that he would lead them out of Egypt into the promised land, just like he promised me and just like he promised many of you. But as they were on their way to promise, Balak tried to curse them. This is what God wanted to show me and many of you. This is why he says you don't have to be afraid of being cursed anymore, and you can anticipate blessings, because he says who God blesses, no man can curse. And we see it here in scripture. When Balaam stood on the mountain overlooking the Israelite camp, he opened his mouth to curse them, but blessings came out instead. He tried 3 times from 3 different locations, and each time he ended up prophesying prosperity and victory over Israel. The scripture says in Numbers 23 8 and 9, Balak led me here from Aram, the king of Moab, all the way from the eastern mountains. Go curse Jacob for me. Go damn Israel. How can I curse whom God has not cursed? How can I damn whom God has not damned? Balak was so mad because he paid for a curse and they got a triple blessing instead. God says, whoever tries to curse you right now, be glad, because every time they open up their mouths to speak against you, I'm going to add another blessing onto your promise. Some people are so mad right now because their spells and their witchcraft is not working on you anymore. All they're doing is wasting their time and money, because in Numbers 23, 21, and 23, here's what Balaam says to Balak. And this is what God says to many of you as well. He has no bone to pick with Jacob. He sees nothing wrong with Israel. God is with them and they're with him, shouting praises to their king. God brought them out of Egypt, rampaging like a wild ox. No magic spells can bind Jacob. No incantations can hold Israel back. People will look at Jacob and Israel and say, what a great thing God has done. God says he is so proud of many of you. You have been faithful. You have rededicated your lives. You have stopped fornicating. You have been obedient. He finds no fault in you, and he has commanded blessings. So fear not. Numbers 23 and 20 says, behold, I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. The only thing that can curse you and stop you in this season is you. God says, be sober and stay alert, because the enemy will try to trick many of you into sabotaging yourselves. Later, we see in Numbers 25, since the Israelites could not be cursed, they are seduced and becomes unfaithful to God by engaging in orgies and idolatry. Balaam told the king that the only way to defeat Israel was to make them unholy so that God would withdraw his protection. So Balak sent women to get the Israelites to fall into seduction and idolatry. Because they had broken their covenant with God so blatantly, a massive plague broke out in the camp and 24,000 people died in the wilderness. Numbers 31:15 and 18 says, have you allowed all the women to live? He asked them. They were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord in the Peor incident, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Now kill all the boys and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man. In my wilderness season, the devil was trying his hardest to get me to fall back into seduction. He had dudes circling the block like crazy because he realized because of my faithfulness, God hand and his protection was now on my life. So the witchcraft and the generational curses and the spells and all of these things were not working anymore. So his only option was to try and get me to become unfaithful to God to block the promise. But I told him, absolutely not. I've come too far to turn back now. This is the most sober, the most abstinent, the most faithful I've ever been in my life. I've spent 38 years wandering. You've spent your lives wandering, lost because of unfaithfulness, because of sexual immorality, adultery, and doubt. Sometimes I get so upset when I think about the years that I wasted. I say, I gotta see it through this time. We gotta see it through this time. We don't have any more time to waste. We spent enough time doing foolishness and it cost us a lot. It cost us 40 years, like the Israelites. The Israelites had traveled far and journeyed for years. Moses reviews their journey to have had around 42 stops and 40 years of wandering before they reached their promised land, when it should have taken them 11 days. The story of Balak and Balaam takes place at their very last camp before crossing over into the promised land. And that is the place many of them fell for the trap of seduction and idolatry. This delayed some of them, but it completely stopped the journey for 24,000 people. 24,000 people did not cross over. 24,000 people died in the wilderness. They were so close. I said, what a tragedy. I refuse to let that be me. I've come too far to die in my wilderness season. I said, I am crossing over if I have to drag myself over the finish line. I am going to make it to the promised land. God says to tell many of you to stay faithful because many of you are at the door. You are so close. You have endured the desert place. You have come too far to die in the wilderness. This is the furthest some of you have ever been. This is your last pit stop before crossing over. This is your last test before crossing over. This is the enemy's last attempt to hinder you through seduction and idolatry to try and stop you from reaching your promised land. Hear me when I say this. God says to pass the test. Do not fall back into idolatry and sexual immorality. Pass the test. You are right at the door. Your promise is right on the other side of this last test, this last act of obedience. God says, stay faithful and you shall receive your inheritance. You shall cross over into your promised land, and no curse can stop you. The only thing that can stop you is you.